Hello and welcome back everybody to this Hustle Castle tips and tricks video. This is for all levels from beginners to advanced players, so stick around and everyone will learn something. If you're an experienced player and you don't want to listen to the easier things, then skip to this time and then you can continue from there. But for beginners, the very first thing I'd recommend is to not use a bad setup, which basically will be if you've got only a couple of people, let's say 3 people you can have in your barracks. You don't want to be using a resurrect if you've only got 1 tank, because the problem is that when that tank goes down, their tanks will just rush to your mages and it's a very easy kill for them. By the time that your tank gets back up, they're already aiming for your mages, which is a big problem. So if you've got 3 people in your barracks, I'd recommend 1 archer, 1 healer, 1 tank, or 2 healers in a tank, or 2 tanks, and then you could use a resurrect there. But just don't use 1 resurrect for 1 tank, because that can then basically lose your setup completely against anyone else's. So the second thing I'd recommend is make sure your dining hall and kitchen are maxed out for your throne room. Now this can take a bit of time, obviously leveling up your people, and you might want to be doing other things first, like your training room, to get as much power as possible. But this is a big way to miss out on opportunities to attack people, especially whether it's going to be PvPs or even doing arenas if you don't have tickets. So that's the next big thing you want to be aiming for. For anyone level 40 or below, you might not have many legendaries, if at all, at this point. So what you need to do is follow these 3 steps for each throne room you hit to achieve winnable arenas. So what you need to do is buy arena rare items, basically. That will be for your max level person, but within 3 levels. Such as if you got level 30s, then it'll be between 27 to 30, level 40s, 37 to 40. And basically this way you can fully equip your squad with at least rare items of your current level. The next stage is to then go into portals and start earning epics and legendaries once you've got more of a solid squad. And once you've got between, I'd recommend 4 to 6 at least epics, even legendaries if you can achieve that, and then start grinding for arenas to get those artifacts. And then once you're hitting that point, you'll see a massive difference in your arenas. But if you're still struggling, I'll be making a Hustle Castle tips arena video for you guys so you can follow along with that in more detail. Lastly, try and get some friends added and send them resources every day. Even if you don't receive any back from them, the game will still give you a chest after sending 10 chests to 10 friends basically. And basically once you get one of those chests back from the game, that actually does have quite a considerable amount of resources, especially at lower levels, and especially if you stack them up getting ready for an event, and that's the best way of at least achieving the most you can for your level. Right, now with intermediate players, I've got 3 tips for you guys. Now that you're starting to understand the game a lot more, the biggest thing that people screw up on is their heroes. I've seen people at throne room level 11 who have less than 1 million power, which at that point is really low. And once you get your hero, you want to be able to power them up as much as possible, because that will give you a huge advantage over people who haven't. Even if they've got a bigger squad, or a more powerful squad I should say, that you can still have an advantage over them if your hero is better. You will struggle to do dungeons, like only doing 2 to 4 waypoints to start with, and it will seem annoying. Just keep going and it won't be long before you get to those bosses and completing the dungeons. If you do need some dungeon tips, then check out my other videos and I'll show you how to do that. The second thing, this could be a beginner thing, but I've even seen people at level 100 players doing this. Don't put magic damage rings I should say, on tanks or archers. They have no effect to their damage, and you could be losing out on a lot of potential just because you thought they would be adding a little bit more damage. But if it's magic damage, it cannot work on tanks or archers. That is only for mages. Very simple one. The last thing for intermediate players is about the gem bait. Once it's available, you want to be doing them every day, especially the free ones, so there's no reason why you shouldn't be doing them. And especially if you've got enough apples, you should be doing the 1 or 2 afterwards if you can basically afford it after doing all your other things. Throughout the whole game you'll be still want to do gem baits all the way up to throne room level 11 because of how long it takes to get gems. So as soon as you can do it, don't put it off because you can't equip them, just go for it. Start aiming for blues if you're beginning, and then once you've got between 10 to 15 blue items, you know, where some people are just filling up the slots, then start aiming for purples, and then you can fill up the gaps and then replace the blues over time, and that will give you a much better chance of winning arenas, doing dungeons, and even clan wars. For advanced people, now the first tip I would give is to upgrade your archive and mithril factory before anything else. Mithril takes an extremely long time to build and even upgrade your, even train up your people that are doing it, so get them done as soon as possible, and then hopefully you can start earning mithril as quick as possible once you start unlocking the items as well. The second thing for advanced people is when you're building sets, don't just make ordinary things. Events come around fairly often, at least when I made this video, and you can generally earn 2 to 3 items quite easily without having to grind too much, and then those will give you a bigger advantage over your opponents, especially the ones who have only just got ordinary parts, and that will be the best way of going about it. Wait for the events, make them into the sets. Lastly, which is something that including the more advanced or experienced players will underappreciate, is your arsenal. The time to have good defences is now, especially when you're making a good amount of mithril that you want to be building your sets. And the main 10-piece sets at the minute will cost you, I think it's 700,000 mithril, or 600,000. And this can take a long time to build up and give plenty of time chances for enemies to attack you. So make sure your arsenal is at least a level 6 and max everything out that's along that list except for archer towers, because even now they're useless, and that will give you a very strong chance at defending people even stronger than you. So yeah, there we go. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and please leave a like if any of this point helped you throughout your Hustle Castle adventure, and subscribe for more Hustle Castle tips and tricks in the future. Yeah, thank you.